Hello everyone, and welcome back. Wednesday, March 25th looks like the kind of Days of Our Lives episode that starts with unease and ends with several lives pushed in very different directions. Nothing here feels random. Every scene seems designed to deepen suspicion, intensify pressure, or expose emotions that can no longer stay buried. So let's get into it, because Wednesday may not rely on one giant shock. Instead, it looks like an episode built on dread, confrontation, and quiet turning points that could trigger much bigger drama by the end of the week. Let's start with Marlena, because when a spoiler says she makes a chilling discovery, that usually signals more than a simple surprise. It suggests she may come across something that instantly changes the emotional direction of the episode and makes the danger feel much more real. She is often the calm center of Salem, the person who brings perspective when everyone else is spiraling. So if Marlena is the one left disturbed, then the audience immediately understands that this is not ordinary chaos. This is the kind of situation that carries deeper emotional consequences and may reach far beyond one scene. What makes this especially intriguing is how naturally it fits into the tension surrounding Johnny, Chanel, Sophia, and the adoption story. Sophia is already acting from a place of fear, desperation, and emotional instability. She clearly does not want to lose control of what happens next. That means Marlena could be walking into a situation that has already crossed a line, even if the full truth is not obvious yet. This may not be a loud, explosive reveal. It may be more unsettling than that. Marlena could notice one missing detail, one disturbing clue, or one sign that something is happening behind the scenes before the rest of Salem catches on. That kind of discovery creates a very specific kind of dread, because viewers can feel the threat growing even before the characters fully understand it. That is why this scene could end up being one of the most important beats of the entire episode. Not because it delivers instant answers, but because it may mark the moment when a troubling situation stops feeling theoretical and starts feeling dangerously real. Elsewhere, Sarah calling out EJ may become one of Wednesday's sharpest and most revealing confrontations. Because Sarah is not someone who picks a fight just to make noise. When she reaches the point of openly challenging someone, it usually means she believes a real line has been crossed. And that is exactly what gives this scene its weight. EJ has been pressuring people, manipulating situations, and keeping himself in control by making others feel cornered. So Sarah stepping in now may not just be a personal reaction. It may reflect a larger shift in how people around him are beginning to see him. Sarah tends to be strongest when she is not emotional in a chaotic way, but focused in a moral way. She does not need to outshout EJ to get the upper hand. In fact, a calm and direct confrontation may hit him even harder, because it takes away his ability to dismiss her as irrational or overly emotional. If Sarah speaks with certainty, then the force of that scene may come from how clearly she sees what he is doing. He is used to controlling conversations by keeping other people defensive while he stays polished and composed. But Sarah challenging him directly could crack that dynamic. Even if he does not completely lose control, the fact that someone is now willing to confront him without hesitation suggests his usual tactics are becoming easier to recognize. Because once enough people stop reacting to EJ with fear and start reacting to him with clarity, his position becomes much more fragile than he wants to admit. So this may be more than a confrontation. It may be the point where the show makes clear that EJ's pattern of manipulation is no longer operating in the shadows. Now let's talk about Kristen and Rachel, because Wednesday may be one of the hardest episodes yet for both of them. Spoilers say they prepare to face the consequences of EJ's shooting, and that wording immediately raises the stakes. This is no longer about hoping the worst can be avoided. It is about the moment when legal reality starts closing in and the emotional protection Rachel has been relying on may no longer be enough. Rachel is still a child, yet she is being pulled into a situation shaped by adult violence, adult fear, and adult consequences. Brady wants to protect her. Belle wants to defend her. Kristen wants to shield her from any outcome she cannot control. But there comes a point where love stops being a solution and becomes only comfort in the middle of something much larger. Rachel may begin to realize that all the reassurance around her cannot guarantee safety. And that emotional shift could make her scenes especially heartbreaking. A child trying to process consequences she cannot fully understand is already difficult to watch. But it becomes even more powerful when the adults around her are also losing their sense of control. Then there is Kristen, and that is where the volatility rises fast. Kristen does not respond to fear with acceptance. She responds with blame, fury, and the need to fight back against anyone she sees as part of the problem. So if the hearing goes badly, Kristen may become even more dangerous emotionally. She may lash out at the court, at Marlena, at anyone she feels failed Rachel or did not protect her strongly enough. Rachel may be facing the situation with fear and confusion, while Kristen faces it with rage and refusal. One is being crushed by the consequences. The other is resisting them with everything she has. And when those two emotional responses collide, the result could be some of the most intense material of the week. Because this is not just a legal complication anymore. It is a family realizing, in real time, that love cannot always stop disaster once the consequences begin. Across town, Ari bringing Liam good news may seem like one of the softer moments in Wednesday's episode, but that may be exactly what makes it so emotionally effective. Because in Salem, hopeful moments often arrive right before the truth makes them hurt more. Ari's storyline is clearly shifting this week, so this scene likely carries more weight than a simple update. If she tells Liam something positive about his situation, that could instantly create relief between them. It may strengthen their connection, lower the tension, and make it feel as if they are finally moving towards something better. But that hopeful feeling may be built on unstable ground. Earlier spoilers have already suggested Liam is not being fully honest with Ari, and that changes the way this scene is likely to play. Ari may walk into the conversation with sincerity, trust, and optimism, while the audience already senses there is something missing underneath the surface. That imbalance is what gives the moment its bittersweet pull. Because the warmer Ari is here, the more vulnerable she may actually be. Her good news may not just bring Liam comfort. It may deepen the emotional bond that makes any later betrayal hurt even more. If Ari feels closer to him in this moment, if she believes they are finally standing on solid ground, then the impact of any hidden truth will land much harder when it eventually comes out. It may look like progress on the surface, but dramatically, it may be doing something far more important, building trust right before that trust is tested. And in soap storytelling, that is often how a goodbye becomes more memorable. Not through open tragedy at first, but through a hopeful moment the audience already knows may not last. Finally, we have Leo and Gwen trading insults, and while that sounds entertaining, and probably will be, this scene may also carry more emotional meaning than it first appears. Because when two characters this sharp and emotionally guarded go after each other, the dialogue is rarely just about landing the funniest line. It is often about defense. Leo is already in a fragile place emotionally. Between heartbreak, romantic uncertainty, and shifting loyalties, he may be feeling far less secure than he wants anyone to see. Gwen, meanwhile, usually does not enter a confrontation unless she feels provoked, threatened, or determined to gain the upper hand. That means this exchange may not just be snark for the sake of snark. It may be a power struggle disguised as entertainment. Leo may hide hurt behind sarcasm because wit is how he keeps control when emotionally he feels exposed. Gwen may weaponize cruelty because staying sharp and cutting helps her avoid looking vulnerable herself. So even if the scene plays with humor on the surface, The subtext may be much darker: insecurity, resentment, jealousy, and the constant need to avoid being the weaker one in the room. Each insult may reveal exactly where the emotional bruises still are. Each jab may show what each character is trying hardest not to admit. And when characters like Leo and Gwen start hitting those deeper nerves, a verbal clash can stop being playful very quickly. In Salem, scenes like this often begin as comic tension but end by setting up larger conflict. One argument creates resentment, resentment creates retaliation, and retaliation opens the door to a much bigger mess. So while Leo and Gwen may deliver some of the episode's sharpest lines, their fight may also be planting the seeds for trouble that lasts well beyond Wednesday. So overall, Wednesday, March 25 looks like an episode driven by dread, confrontation, legal pressure, and emotional instability on multiple fronts. Marlena may uncover something disturbing enough to shift the tone of the entire week. Sarah may say what others are only beginning to realize about EJ. Kristen and Rachel may find themselves facing consequences that cannot be softened by love alone. Ari may bring Liam good news, even as uncertainty continues to hover over their connection. And Leo and Gwen may turn one argument into the start of something much uglier. In other words, Wednesday may not just move these stories forward. It may place several characters right at the edge of their next crisis.